Welcome to Better Biz, and today I've got a really interesting guest in Peter Loosely, who's the Managing Director of Virtual IT Managed Services. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here, Anthony.
So, Peter, you had a really, unusual beginning in terms of the beginning of the business itself, and I know your background was working with Melbourne Airport. So, tell me a little bit about the story about how you actually came from being employed to work on such a big organisation to actually then turning around and starting virtual IT, and perhaps even how it all began for you in IT.
Well, my journey for IT started some 30 plus years ago. I was trained in computer repairs and electronics, but that was prior to the 286 computer. So when the 286 computer came out, the industry changed. Things such as terms of board jockey or people that could just do internal replacement and repair their own systems became commonplace. So I had to evolve, which led me into dealing with IT systems and systems administration, working for such companies like Hewlett-Packard, Pacific Dunlop, worked for large companies like Tattersalls, and then obviously eventually moved on to Melbourne Airport and a large construction company after them. But the role that I played in most of these was as systems administrator. It was a highly required role for security. So cybersecurity was always something that I dealt with and delved in way before it became commonplace actually in the world as it is today. It was always the threat of trying to make sure that people couldn't do damage to systems, or that external parties couldn't get inside systems, or in fact, internal people couldn't create problems. So the journey led to me being IT manager of Melbourne Airport because I suppose I just understood their needs of what they actually wanted to do because I've done it before.
Yeah, I mean, and it's an interesting thing being part of an organisation that big on one hand, and then making the decision to go out on your own and offer this to small businesses, because I think that's the journey really. It's a personal journey, but it's also a journey of what you learn from working with an organisation like Melbourne Airport and what that means that you can bring to small business.
Well, Melbourne Airport actually wasn't my last full-time job. In fact, that led me to my next company that was a family choice. It was either stay at Melbourne Airport for an extended term or find somewhere that was closer to home. I lived some 75 kilometres away from work, and the family just got to the point of never seeing me because I was always on the road. So we opted for trying to find a new house that was closer to the airport, which didn't eventuate because family didn't want to move. So I changed jobs. Worked for a large construction and consultancy firm in the power industry. And I stayed with them for over 9 years. In fact, they were my longest term job. I started as the IT manager and then eventually took over as head of IT and trained up multiple IT administrators and help desk people and developers, and mentored quite a few of them actually over the 9 years, in fact.
And so now the benefit is obviously to the small business sector from all of those learnings.
Well, the beauty that I actually achieved from working for the consultancy company is that I started seeing that there was a real need for cybersecurity, and this is where it grew predominantly, and also the need for cloud services. We moved that company into Office 365 and developed actually a lot of cloud solutions for them as well. And when my tenure finished with them, after the 9 years, the company unfortunately went into voluntary administration, as does happen with companies. An opportunity arose that there was a large construction company in Queensland that had a major breach. In fact, it was in 2015. It was the first cyber ransomware that I heard of. And through, obviously, some contacts I had, they reached out to me and asked me if I'd be prepared to come out and consult and see if I could figure out what had happened, why it had happened, and how to prevent it in future.
And so from there, I guess the business was born, right?
Very much so. When I actually went on site, I was stayed on site for a week. I live in Melbourne. They were in Queensland. They didn't quite understand that I couldn't travel to and from work every day, so they put me up in a hotel for the week. And look, over the week we reviewed their systems and probably did it so different to what they're used to from IT consultants previously. Because the first thing I did was I interviewed a lot of their key staff, not in IT, but actually in the business sense, to find out how the business was dealing with their data, to try to understand why this threat had occurred. What I found out over the course of the week is that this was actually the third attack of ransomware they'd had in a period of 6 months. Now, the amazing thing was, though, that the IT department had become so efficient at recovering from the ransomware attack, but had never addressed the gaping hole that was in their firewall that allowed the ransomware to occur every single time. And this is where, obviously, the executive management team looked at. I wrote up 10 major projects for them, how to fix a lot of their system problems. And I suppose that's where I saw virtual IT managed services being born. Because I looked at it and I went, there's a lot of companies out there that I've worked for and that I've helped develop and improve their systems, so that when I've left, the systems were far more robust, they were far more secure, and people understood how to run them. So I looked at that from a small to medium business and went, they're actually at the same risk without any of the benefits. So we looked at a way to develop a solution that would allow us to go in there into small to medium businesses and give them the opportunity to secure their systems, understand it, and make sure they're protected from the worst case scenario of ransomware, or even just actually having a data breach.
Peter, the information you've given today is outstanding. And I guess if businesses really relate to that and they want to have a one-on-one session with you, how do they go about doing that?
Well, Anthony, on our website, people can click on the Book Now link. The bookings link on our homepage links directly with my calendar. So people can book time that is suitable to them, right, from free times that I have available, and have a 30-minute free consult, no obligation, just an opportunity to have a talk and see if we might be able to give them some information that can help them move forward, or even just improve some of the knowledge that they might have.